to the Dude Maker Hotline and our friend Andrew Bieszad, who is standing by in a coffee shop somewhere in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Mr. Bieszad, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing very well, and yourself?
I am good. I am very well. Very excited to talk to you for the first time. Welcome to the Veritas Radio Network and the Crusade channel.
And then likewise, congratulations on your new move. I'm looking forward to seeing how everything develops with you and your new network.
Well, you'll be able to listen like anyone else can now because no subscription is required to get the live stream. All you got to have is a smartphone or a tablet or a computer or anything that can play a stream. So there you go.
Awesome. That's awesome. And I will be listening in every day.
So, Andrew, if you don't know, is the author of the book. Many of you already have it, Lions of the Faith. Andrew, where are the Lions of the Faith at in 2015 that we can call upon to combat religious holy war being waged by the Mohammedan? We need religious holy war crusaders, don't we?
Yes, we do. And, you mentioned Lions of the Faith. Two things for your readers. My book will be coming to the Founders Trading Post very soon, courtesy of my church. This week it will be Mike will be receiving an order, and there will be some of those books in the Founders Trading Post store. And for those of you who have your Kindle or your smartphone, Lions of the Faith, I just got it up on Amazon for pre-order. It will be coming out. It will be officially available this Thanksgiving, but you can pre-order it right now on Amazon Kindle.
Wait, what is it? Oh, the Lions of the Faith is coming out as a Kindle book?
Yes, it is.
Oh, there you go. Fantastic. Well, I have a copy, so I don't have a signed one. Now, make sure you autograph all those copies because your fans are going to want them. Now, Lions of the Faith, where are the, in addition to the book, which is a story about the stories of past Lions of the Faith, where are our saints at 2015, Andrew?
Well, that is what I'm asking myself. And I'm going to tell you this, the title Lions of the Faith, that originally came from actually a Muslim text. It was my version of a Muslim text. It was originally called Ust al-Ghaba, written by Ibn al-Athir, which means Lions of the Forest. And Ibn al-Athir, very interestingly, I wrote this in my book, he actually fought in Saladin's army, with Saladin. And at the same time, when he was fighting in Saladin's army, he was actually at the siege of Hattin, in 1187, he fought against Richard the Lionheart. He fought against Saint Serapion, Blessed Gerard Macadi of Villamagne, and many other saints in my book. Now, I'm not saying these people ever actually met, but it is most likely that they may have seen each other and even fought with each other in battle. So, or almost 1,000 years ago.
Right.
That was where I got my title from originally. The Lions of the Forest, I made it Lions of the Faith. And well, the reason why I say this is because when we look to what does it mean to be a good Catholic, what does it mean to be a good Christian, who are our model? Obviously, we have Jesus. But after Jesus, who's God himself, who are the men and women in this life who have been friends of God, who've walked with him, and are models that we can follow after? Because let's face it, we're all sinners, we're all messed up, we all have our problems, we all have our vices, everyone knows this. It's no secret. You do, I do. So forth. But that is what makes the Christian and Catholic faith so unique, is that it gives us the ability to transcend our vices and to become something greater than us, to become, as the Orthodox say, God became man so man might become like God. So who are those people that we do this with, and what is their example?
Right.
My question was, how do these people relate to Islam? What was the precedent? And I found two things. I found three things. They were people who were martyrs, who martyred themselves for the faith. They were people who prayed for Muslims and prayed for people who were working with Muslims. And then you had another group who was equally large, if not even larger, and these are Canaanite saints of the church, who went into military battle with the Muslims, with the sword, with the axe, and mowed them down. Now, I'm saying this because the times we live in today are very confused. We live in a period in history where we don't know right from wrong. There is no cat.
Well, brother, you just said the mouthful of all mouthfuls. We don't. What is this right that you speak? Wait. What is this wrong that you speak? You can't tell me that I'm wrong. You can take your little silly religion and you're immoral. I'll be my own. I'll be my own pope. I'll write my own magisterium. What is this wrong that you speak of?
You hit it right on the head.
That's
Mike.
right.
And that's what people are afraid of, because that's the truth. There is objective right and wrong, but no one wants to say it. It's like what Jack Nicholson said in A Few Good Men. You can't handle the truth. Except it's not that we can't handle the truth, it's that we don't want to handle the truth. We know it's true. We know there's objective right and wrong, because if you say there's such thing as right and wrong, well, your truth is my truth, and my truth, and maybe what's true for me is not true for me. So maybe if robbing somebody is wrong for you, that's fine, but if it's okay for me, hey, anything goes. We know it's right and wrong, but we don't want to admit it because it convicts us of our own vices, myself included. It makes you look at yourself and say, wow, I really am a jerk. and no one wants to do that.
Or I really am a sinner. And
Exactly.
because I'm a sinner, of course, then you have to... takes a lot of humility to admit sins, especially to admit the sins of pride and of vanity. But now... For us personally, those are things that we have to work out on. Let's try to apply some of this, and apply because I know where you're going with this. Let's try to apply this to the situation that the people of France are undergoing today, and it is very soon. This is going to happen in England. They already have very well-regarded writers, opinion journalists, and authors. That are that you see the signs, you see the writing on the wall. They see that the Muslims have cloistered themselves, that they're in large enough numbers, they no longer desire to be part of English society. You know, they don't want to learn to drink a tea and have crumpets at noon, mother. They've separated themselves, and whenever you get separation like that, of course, the modern term for that is Balkanization. Whenever societies, civilizations become Balkanized like that, you have the conditions that are set up for war. And if you have one party that is predisposed to trying to rule another party and to earn its living by raping, robbing, and pillaging the other party, which is the history of Islam, the Brits know it's coming. I mean, the smart Brits know that it's coming. Now, I ask you the same question. You're the Islamic scholar. Isn't the same thing? The French are going to get more of what they got Friday, not less, correct?
Oh, absolutely. And you talk about we call it the Balkanization today. I'm going to tell you, this ghettoization, I emphasize this. Look at Islamic history. Do not believe me. This ghettoization is self-imposed. And the reason why it is self-imposed is it is based on a model that goes back to Muhammad's time. And Muhammad, you see, what Islamic theology, the perfected, is perfected in the life and example of Muhammad. If you want to be a good Muslim, you want to live the perfect Muslim life, as we would say as Catholics, you want to follow Jesus and the examples of the saints, God himself, and those men and women who were friends of God, did his will, and strived for in this life in spite of their sinfulness and their problems. In the case of Islam, you want to follow Muhammad. Muhammad is the perfect man, is Islamic teaching perfected in his life and deeds. So, what did Muhammad do? This example, well, in 622, he and a bunch of his followers moved from Mecca in Saudi Arabia to the city of Yathrib, which we now call Medina. And while he was there, he tried to convert the Jewish elite of the city.
Now,
can I told him, that's cute.
Andrew, let me interject for just a moment here. So Medina formerly had a Christian name then? There was a Christianized name. And what was the name of the city?
Yathrib.
How do you spell that?
Yathrib.
Oh, Yathrib. Okay, I got it. Like St. Augustine was Augustine of Hippo, but Hippo's not Hippo anymore. He's got a Muslim name to it. Almost all of Africa has which at once upon a time was named, were named by Christians or by Catholics, are all now renamed. There's hardly any city that survived this, right?
North Africa used to be the bastion of the Catholic faith more so than Europe ever was.
Right, that's right.
Especially what we call Tunisia, or as they say in the old days, Carthage. I mean, Saint Donatus, not Donatus, Saint begins with a D, who is one of the very famous church fathers, one of the very early church fathers, and Saint Augustine of Hippo,
right,
as it is said. Many great people have come out of this area, and I will answer why later the faith is there no more. But the point is here is that if wherever Islam is perfected, Muhammad's life and example. And what did Muhammad do when he got to Yathrib? After the mostly Jewish elite of the city told him, your religion is cute, that's nice, but we're not converting, more or less, Muhammad, all of a sudden, he starts claiming that Allah is giving him these other revelations, telling him to fight those who do not believe in him. And what he did is he and his followers ghettoized themselves into small neighborhoods within Medina. And they began to, by day, live peacefully and preach about Islam, and by night, engage in what we would call acts of terrorism. For instance, there was an old man who lived in the city. His name was Ka'ab bin Ashraf. He was an old Jew.
Okay.
And one of the things that he noticed, you can read this in the Sirah, which is the life of Muhammad, written by Ibn Ishaq. It's available for $30, I think, on Amazon. It's like a 800-page book. It's the best book on Islam and the earliest source of Muhammad's biography. It's been known throughout it's renowned throughout history. But as Ka'ab bin Ashraf says, he's supposed to say in the book, he noticed that Muhammad had a, quote, a lust for large female backsides. So he called Muhammad out on this, and he made a poem about how he would like to ogle them. You know, back in the day, they used to insult each other with poetry. Sort of like you have the rap battles today, and in the different cities like Los Angeles, New York, so forth. Those communities.
So rappers are descendants from Muslim poets?
Yes, actually, that a poet is interesting too, because poetry was especially affiliated with insulting people. Mm-hmm. It was affiliated with comedy. It was also affiliated with you would call it like clairvoyance and mediums, and really trying to channel spirits. One of Muhammad's first accusations, and most consistent accusations, was that he was trying to be a poet. In other words, that he was pretending that he was a clairvoyant or a medium, saying he's getting all this knowledge and revelation when really he's just making stuff up.
844-5-CRUSADE is our telephone number. If you'd like to call the program, I can put you on with Islamic scholar Andrew Bieszad. Call 844-5-CRUSADE or send Maggie O'Connell your questions via the Twitter feed at The King Dude or via Facebook, Mike Church Show fan page. Okay, so back to the story of Muhammad.
Yeah, and what would happen with this man is Muhammad was very upset by this man, and what he ordered one of his followers, I believe it was Muhammad bin Maslama and Umayr bin Adi, I think. He ordered them to go find him in the middle of the night and murder him by disemboweling him. And that was what they did. And Muhammad wanted him disemboweled in a public place. Mm-hmm. So they found him. They murdered him. As the text writes, they stabbed him in the gut, pulled the knife down so his organs spilled out. And they did so, it was in the middle of the street, a main street. And they left him there. And they said the next day, the entire town was in fear, quote, because they saw the power that the Prophet had wielded in their city. And it was said when Muhammad was brought news, when he saw the blood on Muhammad bin Maslama's hand and his dagger, he said he leaped for joy at what he knew would happen. This is the way Islam works. They do is they ghettoize themselves, and they and as the Quran says, they strike terror into the hearts of those who disbelieve, quoting from the Quran right there. And the reason for this is remember, people think terrorism. We talk about terrorism as though it is the end goal of what these Muslims want to do, and nothing could be further from the truth.
So what is the end goal? What is the end goal? Andrew Bieszad is on the Dude Maker hotline with us at 844-5-CRUSADE. What is the end goal?
Well, the end goal of it is the Islamization of the world. To say that terrorism is the end goal would be like to say I get in my car to drive around just because I drive around, just to drive around for the fun of it. Only an insane person would say that.
Wait a minute, I thought they hated us for our freedoms. I thought they hated us because women voted.
I thought that too. I thought they just wanted to, eat pizza and play video games and watch American Idol all day.
Now let's apply this again. So apply this to the action that is perpetrated in Paris. And of course, we saw there was an earlier assault on the magazine Charlie Hebdo. This one that occurred on Friday just seems to have been randomly chosen. Why would this is what's confounding me, and I bet many people have this question. Why would ISIS, what is the purpose of ISIS perpetrating mass murder on this scale? Because this kind of defies the way you explained to me the pattern of what Muhammad and his followers did, which was they began raiding caravans, and then when people stopped bringing their caravans anywhere near where the Mohammedans were, then they went on the road and began conquering whatever town they would come upon, so they could rape, rob, and pillage it. But is just the indiscriminate mass murder, is that also part of Islamic history?
Remember, in Islamic theology, as I've said many times in your show, that one has to remember the nature of man in Islam. خلقنا الإنسان في أحسن تقويم فرددناه إلى أسفل السافلين إلا للذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات فلهم مجراء غير ممنون. We have created man in the best of molds, and we abase him to the lowest of the low, except for those who believe and do righteous deeds. For they shall have a reward unfailing. In Islam, man's human dignity is a creation, is an external imposition. It's not part of your nature. It is a gift that Allah gives you that is conditional upon your continued faith in and practice of Islam. Man is, at least, as the Catholic faith teaches, God made man in his image and likeness, Genesis chapter 1, verse 27.
Right.
That man is not made in God's image and likeness in Islam. Man is a thing. And what makes him a human is not only if he believes in Islam, but to the extent which he believes in it and practices it. Yes, it means there are some Muslims who are more human than other Muslims, and it explains for the reason why Muslims so often mistreat other Muslims, especially the more pious ones, against the more secular-minded ones. That is why. Therefore, when you see these Muslims murdering people, you must think, in their minds, they are not murdering people. It's like shooting dogs, what they are doing. It's of no consequence. There is no sin attached to what they are doing, as far as the theology is concerned, because they're not murdering people. They're murdering animals.
Wow. 844-5-CRUSADE. Andrew Bieszad, our Islamic resident, Islamic scholar and expert on the Dudemaker Hotline with us. Now, you had told me this before, so I actually heard this before about that they don't view the rest of us. We're infidels, in other words. So if you kill an infidel, you're not really killing. You're not killing anyone that actually matters. Now, does it matter if they kill another Muslim?
Well, yes. It also depends, though, on how the murder happened. You see, in Islam makes a very clear distinction between intent and action. As it says in Islam, and I quote the text: a Muslim who intends to do a bad deed and actually follows through on committing that bad deed, it counts as one bad deed against him.
Okay.
A Muslim who intends to do something bad and actually does a bad deed, and actually does a good deed, it counts actually as one good deed. A Muslim who does a bad deed but did not intend to do it, it does not count as anything against him. And a Muslim who does one good deed with good intentions counts as 10 good deeds.
10 good deeds.
10 good deeds. You get 10 for the price of one. But wait, there's more.
Okay.
In a non-Muslim, even if a non-Muslim does a good deed with good intentions, because of the fact that he is a kafir, he is an infidel, he is not a human, it counts as nothing. It counts as nothing for him. It does not benefit him at all. And if he does a bad deed, whether he has bad intentions or good intentions, it counts as a bad deed against him. So and this is why Muhammad says that no matter what a non-Muslim does, no good deed will ever be accepted of him, because he is a non-Muslim. And a Muslim might be a very evil person, but any good deed that he does, or even parshat, if he does a good deed intending to do good, it counts as 10 good deeds, and immediately over. And it's very easy, as you can see, if you're a profligate sinner, to easily compensate for your bad deeds by doing a few good deeds with good intentions.
844-5-CRUSADE, our telephone number, if you'd like to be on the program today. So this is the attack of Friday. We can expect that to be followed by other ISIS attacks. Now, What happens, and this is another curiosity here, what happens when to the non-radicalized, this applies to Americans as well. So what happens then when there are non-radicalized, as of yet, Muslims living in a population where radical Muslims then began their activities, and is that the purpose of what we're seeing today?
I would not even use the term radical. I would use the term orthodox.
Okay, orthodox. That's right. No, you're right. We say radical as if it's extreme to them. It's not. That's orthodoxy. That's right.
Right, because radical, as Arabic would say, the term would be khulaf. And khulaf would mean something that is extreme. It is outside of the norm. What ISIS is doing, this is normal. This is normal behavior as far as Islamic standards are concerned. They are acting. Remember, the perfection of Islamic teaching comes. The perfection of Islamic piety and in beatitude comes in following the life and example of Muhammad. And who was Muhammad? Muhammad was a pedophile, a necrophile, a mass murderer, a rapist. He claimed he was possessed by Satan on at least 2 occasions. He raided caravans. He had no care for human life, and he placed beatitude in the acquisition of temporal things as an extension of something that would continue into the hereafter.
Okay.
That is beatitude in Islam. So when you see ISIS going, if that is their model for perfection, and there is no sin with that, does it surprise anybody that ISIS is doing what they're doing? Now, as far as Muslims who don't do this, which of course there are many because people are people and everyone has their own opinions and some are more pious than others, the fact is, if you associate with Islam, you are associating with a religion that teaches these particular behaviors. The only thing that stops what we would call a non-radical Muslim from becoming a terrorist is his will. It's because he does not want to do this. He does not want to follow this. This is there are many Catholics who do not want to follow their faith, and therefore they prevent themselves from going spiritually. A perfect example of this, and who were approximate, not exact contemporaries of each other, but around a similar time, were Saint Francis of Assisi
right.
and Saladin. Both of them were party boys. Both of them basically went to school and were known for hooking up and getting drunk and having a good time. They had a reputation for this. Both of them were rich boys who could have cared nothing about religion. St. Francis had a conversion, and so did Saladin.
You know what's fascinating about the story? Let me just interject something real quick here. Fascinating about the story of St. Francis of Assisi and his conversion. Where did he have his conversion? He was getting ready to participate in a war. I mean, he was in battle, right?
Yep. Yes, he was.
And he decided that, wait a minute, what am I doing? These guys aren't my enemies. Why are we marauding and fighting these guys? And he had this conversion. Anyways, so continue with the comparison, please.
No problem. And both of them wanted to strive to become really models of their faith, to live it out perfectly as best as they could according to their particular vocations in life. And what happened? St. Francis of Assisi became a saint who was known for gentleness and mercy and self-sacrifice, helping the poor, giving up everything for the sake and for the love of Christ. And he converted millions, and he is remain a model of Christian piety and mercy and love for over 800 years.
He even relieved a poor, a terrified, speaking of terrorists, none of the French Muslim variety, but a terrified Italian village was being stalked and terrorized by a gigantic wild wolf. And they called, and no, they couldn't catch it, they couldn't shoot it, they couldn't find it. And so they, the villagers asked St. Francis or of course he was just Francis of Assisi at the time. They asked Francis, "Hey man, you have you're rumored or said to have a way with animals. Maybe you can find the wolf." And he did. He went out and found the wolf and confronted him. Of course, everyone, "Oh, he'll kill you." And of course, Francis had no fear, and he basically converted the wolf, and then the wolf became the town pet.
Yep, I remember this story.
Yeah, it's a great story. And so we know what happened with St. Francis. What happens with the other guy?
Well, Saladin, it's pretty clear. Saladin became a great military leader with Islam.
Okay.
Saladin was known for fighting the wars of the Crusades. He was the man who single-handedly turned the Crusades to the Muslims' favor. Now, there was division within the Crusader army, but he was the one who really started to bring about the end of the Crusader state. He was vicious. He was known for capturing people, beheading them, forcing people to convert to Islam, then to execute them. He was a vicious man of war.
Right.
And the only person that stopped him was actually Richard I of England, better known as Richard the Lionheart. It was Richard the Lionheart who put him in check after the massacre at Hattin, where there were 20,000 soldiers at Hattin who had gathered. 17,000 were murdered, and the other 3,000 were sold into slavery or executed after. A few were ransomed. There is a very famous statue, actually, in Syria of the leader of the Crusader leader at the time, Raymond of Chatillon, who was not a nice person, but it actually shows Saladin dragging him in chains while riding his horse. You can see it in Damascus to this day. So, and they said the person who stopped Saladin was actually Richard I of England. And Richard I, he had a lot of problems, but
right.
He was a very pious Catholic, and he really wanted to live a good, holy life as best as he could. And Saladin died unfulfilled, unhappy, because he could not realize his dream, which was to destroy the Crusader states and re-Islamize them. That is the difference between Catholic faith and Islam. One leads to life, one leads to war, other leads to war and death. And you see it today. They said Saladin wanted to be like Muhammad. Francis of Assisi wanted to be like these. The difference is clear.
844-5-CRUSADE, our telephone number. You can also send your questions in via Twitter, @TheKingDude, and via Facebook, Mike Church Show fan page. So, in the aftermath of the attacks in Paris, of course, you have headlines like this one in Salon.com. You saw it this morning? Our terrorism double standard after Paris. Let's stop blaming Muslims and take a hard look at ourselves. By Ben Norton. We must mourn all victims, but until we look honestly at the violence we export, nothing will ever change. Now, he does have a point about our unconstitutional, undeclared, unjust interventionist military actions. He does have a point about that, but none of that justifies or brings justification to what it is that the Mohammedans are doing in Paris. Very soon they're going to do it in England. And heaven forfend, they should get the bright idea that they would do it here. So what would you say to the writer of the Salon.com writer about stop blaming Muslims?
Well, exactly what you just said. The point, they said, you're right, we have been involved in many illegal and unconstitutional wars. We know about this very well. You and I have talked about this extensively in previous shows. The fact is that does not take away from the fact that something that of the gravity of events. That's like going up to, I don't know, a murder victim and saying, I'm so sad this person got murdered. And someone saying, well, there's a lot of people who get murdered. Maybe we should talk about that too. What makes you so special? That is the equivalent of doing that. It is the distraction. They're trying to get you away from the actual topic, which is the fact that Islam is a religion of violence and bloodshed, which its ministers have propagated throughout 1,400 years of history and will continue to do so because it is built into the theology. You cannot separate the violence of Islam from the theology of Islam without changing the religion and thus creating a new religion that is not Islam. You cannot separate this. It is impossible to do so.
So David Harsanyi writes at The Federalist this morning, the crisis is Islam. If you're not talking about theology, we're not really talking about the problem. And that really is the question here for the Christian American or for the Americans that fancy themselves as Christians. That's the question that we're really going to have to grapple with. If this is a theological battle, and the people of Europe of old, during the time in the ages of faith, during the ages of Christendom, those Europeans, they knew what the Mohammedan was all about, and they knew when they went to war that they went to war with in the Crusades and in other defensive postures. They did so with the blessing of Rome. They sought the blessing of Rome. They sought the intercession of Our Lady. We have a serious problem here in the Go ahead.
And even the apostles too. Who was the apostle of Spain? Saint James, the apostle, is the patron saint of Spain.
Mm-hmm.
There are many times, and you read about this in my book, Lands of the Faith, where people will have visions seeing Saint James on a horse riding into battle. One of the most famous, actually, visions of Saint James to have. You may have heard of the city, like in Mexico or many parts of the world, Matamoros. Matamoros means Muslim killer. And it comes from the phrase Santiago Matamoros, Saint James the Muslim killer.
Ah.
And you can find statues and pictures of it. There's a very famous mural of it I have in my book, Lions of the Faith, from the Cathedral of St. Mary's in Valencia, which was the cathedral that led the final destruction of Islam in Spain in the 17th century. It shows Saint James on a horse with a sword, getting ready to cut off a Muslim's head. I mean, this is real. This is no joke.
No, I wasn't familiar with that. I was just I was taking a breath at the story of Saint James. Now, so back to the I want to circle back to the question or to this part of the conversation, and that is this: when the armies of Europe, when they went to battle, when they were forced to defend Vienna, for example, when they were forced to defend Malta, when they were forced to defend Lepanto, when they were forced to try and drive out the Muslims from Spain, which they ultimately did, but it took them, 1,000 years?
781.
How many?
781.
781 years to drive out the Muslims. But the important part about the Spanish driving the Muslims out is that the Spanish never wavered in their Catholicism or their Christianity, did they?
Correct. Very correct. That is the deciding factor in that, is that it was that, if you look at the start history, look at all the nations that have contended with Islam, the only nations who have ever been able to, and I'm just going to say, to start or to stand up to the Muslims, to prevent themselves from being completely overrun, they're either the Catholics or the other apostolic Christians. And when I say apostolic, I'm referring to the Assyrian Church of the East, the Oriental Orthodox, and the Eastern Orthodox.
Right.
Now, if you mean actually defeat the Muslims and run them out of the country and reconquer it, the only ones who've been able to do that are the Catholic countries. The only ones.
Only ones.
Everyone else has fallen to Islam. Every heretical nation has fallen to Islam. Every other non-Muslim nation has either fallen to Islam or has been and is continually being slowly swallowed up by Islam once the Muslims come in contact with it. It's only a matter of time when that happens. Again, it is only the Catholic faith that has been able to successfully do this. If there is any proof for the truth of the faith, that is it.
844-5-CRUSADE, our telephone number. It's the Mike Church Show here on the Veritas Radio Network and on the Crusade channel. Get the show live every weekday morning from 8 to 11 a.m.-ish. I say ish because we may not be done at 11. If we're not, we just keep going. You can also get it on demand when you want and where you want. All you need is a Founder's Pass. Please consider becoming a member at MikeChurch.com and supporting our efforts. Without you listening and without your subscription support, the network cannot grow, nor can it survive. And thanks to all of you who have already done so. Andrew Bieszad, author of Lions of the Faith, and our resident Islamic expert on the telephone line with us here on the Dude Maker hotline. So to the Americans out there, or to who are going to listen to this and rebroadcast, and are going to listen to the highlight reel. You told me once upon a time here on this show, where you said it when we were on the Sirius XM airwaves, and I'll ask you the same question here on the Veritas Radio Network and Crusade channel. You said that if the Christian people of America want to really go to battle with and want to attempt to vanquish Islam and to vanquish the Mohammedans from America, then they're going to have to convert.
They're going to have to convert at the very minimum. See, that is one of the only. There's only a few ways that you can.
Now tell them what they have to convert to.
They have to embrace the Catholic faith.
And see, this is where we're going to run into a problem, because there are things that Protestants and Catholics do agree on.
Right.
Usually issues of life, abortion, euthanasia, and things like that. But on this, you're not going to get the cooperation here, because they're going to reject Our Lady out of pocket without, and I guess in doing so, they also reject out of pocket that the Battle of Lepanto, that the Battle of that the Siege of Malta and the Siege of Vienna and other sieges were all
the entire Reconquista.
Well, yeah,
the entire Reconquista began with Pelayo de Asturias placing a statue of Our Lady in the caves of Covadonga and saying, "Please seek your intercession." And it was him and his small army that routed, or his small, I could say, band of ragtag soldiers that routed the entire Muslim army and drove them out of Asturias. And that began the Reconquista.
Yeah, and there's also the story of Cortez. I mean, when Hernando Cortez goes to Mexico, what is today Mexico, and confronts the devil-worshipping, human-sacrificing Aztecs and Mayans, he too calls upon the intercession of Mary. When he has to take the city of, oh gosh, it starts with a T. I can't think of the name of it. Tululalac or
Teotihuacan.
You know, it's where the giant pyramid is, where they are sacrificing the humans and cutting their. Okay, and it's surrounded by a giant lake. The only way to get to it is you got to cross these causeways. And he is seriously outnumbered. He's outnumbered 800 to 1 or something like that.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
But he calls upon the intercession of Mary, of Our Lady, and we know that the rest of the story, that the entire geographic area known as Mexico today, which was populated by the Incans, by the Mayans, and by the Aztecs, and there's some people who go, there weren't Incans there at the time. Well, there used to be Incans, and if there weren't Incans there at the time, they were the descendant of the Incans. They were converted to Catholicism. Our Lady of Guadalupe ultimately appears to Saint Juan in the early days of this. You know, we still have the Our Lady of Guadalupe's tilma, which has baffled every scientist that has looked at it. They've tried to disprove it. And every time they try, that's a fake. Every time they try to say it's a fake, and the Mexican government gives them permission to go send a research team down to look at it, they discover some new miracle in it. But anyway, they say, how do we negotiate this impasse with our Protestant brothers and sisters when it comes to the calling upon the intercession of Mary?
Many of them will work in their own fields with what they do, but the fact is we have to lead. That is the end story. We have to lead. There were cases many times of Orthodox and even Protestants going to fight with the Catholics against the Muslims.
Right.
However, at the same time, and I'm going to say this here because this is not going to be very popular, but the fact is I have to speak truthfully, and you can find this in the book Alliance of the Faith. Protestantism, no matter how way you put it, we don't like to use the H word today, but they do have incorrect teaching. That is heresy. And the fact is, heresy will always be swallowed up by Islam. It always does. It always happens. The saints, even St. John of Damascus, St. Peter the Venerable of Montbazet, both living around the year 750 and 1100, respectively. They both wrote that, what did they call Muhammad? They said what Hillel Balosh was in the 20th century. Muhammad was the heresiarch of heretists. And all heresy is perfected within Muhammad. This is why all Christian heretics eventually will either revert to the Catholic faith or revert to the Catholic faith, or they end up becoming a Muslim when confronted with Islam. Bosnia is a perfect example. Bosnia was in the midst of a heresy known as Bogomilism.
Okay.
And what happened in Bosnia? Many people became Catholic, the rest of them became Muslim. And they're still Muslim today. Bulgaria, most of Bulgaria's Muslim population comes from the fact that you had this Bogomil heresy. Many of them, some of them went back to the old way, to the old faith. The rest of them just embraced Islam. That is what will happen. And if people consider about the alliance this issue with Muslim and Protestants, I suggest you look into what's called the Turco-Calvinistic Alliance. I write about it in my book. There is actually medals that were produced by the Dutch army that they would use when going into battle against Spain and against other Catholic countries. It was the shape of a crescent moon, and it actually would say on it, "Better a Turk than a papist."
Better a Turk than a papist.
Look it up. Look it up. You can find a copy. You can find some of these medals in the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam, where it actually shows the crescent moon. It's better a Turk than a papist. The phrase is actually coined by a Calvinist preacher named Herman Moded.
I had not heard this. I will look it up.
Herman Moded, also known as Herman de Streeker. He was one of the early Calvinist preachers of the 16th century.
Did not know that. 844-5-CRUSADE, our telephone number, if you'd like to be on the program today. Okay, so our final discussion here will be about the various military options that are going to be offered here. I've been watching Fox News and the Clinton News Network all morning long since I got here at about 5:45 a.m., and I can tell you, I have yet to see a priest. I have yet to see, I haven't even seen Rick Warren, Pastor Rick Warren. I have yet to see a person of faith anywhere on any of these shows talking about anything other than bombing Muslims, bombing ISIS back in to the first millennia. It's obvious that the response to this is going to, unfortunately, be secular. It's going to be secular. It's going to be military. There's not going to be any faith attached to it. What do you think ultimately happens with that?
Well, I will tell you this. Again, you emphasize secular military option.
Right.
The fact is that is like putting a bandage on an infection. It will stop something, but it will not eliminate the problem. The problem is Islamic theology itself. This is you want to know what to do? I will tell you what you have to do. It's very simple, the answer, but it requires effort, and it is not going to be easy. The first one, obviously the best one, the first one, is people must work to convert these Muslims. They have to be converted, as many of them as you can.
Right.
That is the first and the best way. There's other two options. They're not good, but they are also the ones that only work. You either have to expel them from the country, which is what happened in 17th century Spain. They expelled the remaining Muslims from Spain.
That's right.
Islam ended in Spain at the end of the 15th century, but it was not actually permanently wiped out until the 17th. And many times Spain almost became Muslim, even when it was conquering the Americas. And the other option is you have to go for a long-term war with them. When I say long-term, we're talking 500, 600, 700 years. Now, I can tell you, the secular Europeans do not have the desire, nor do the secular Americans, the desire, the will, or the motivation to fight such a long-term war. We would just rather turn over and die because it's the easier option. I hate to say that, but that's the truth. The fact is, if you're going to survive against Islam in the long term, Islam is in this battle for the long term. You're going to be committed to this, or you're going to become one of them. Like I said in my earlier
so it's like the Borg.
1 Peter 5. You're either going to fight for the faith, or you're going to submit on your knees.
Wow. That's Andrew Bieszad, author of Lions of the Faith. It sounds like what you just described, I was having a Star Trek moment. I was going, wait a minute, that sounds like the Borg. You will be assimilated. There's no resisting the Borg. Either you become a Borg or you resist the Borg and die trying to resist the Borg.
Yes, that is what it is, because that is what Islam's goal is. I have been commanded to fight against mankind until he professes that there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his prophet. From the hadith of Bukhari, I think Muslim has that quote as well. It is one of Muhammad's sayings that he told to his followers. What did Muhammad say? Inna al-firdaus tahta zil al-asyaf. Verily, paradise is under the shade of swords. What was Muhammad's greatest goal that he said? His greatest goal, his greatest desire in life was that he could die. He could die in jihad, to come back again, only to die in jihad again, to come back to die in jihad again. It is perpetual war. There is no peace. People say Islam means peace. It does not mean peace. The Dar al-Salam, the house of peace, only comes when the Dar al-Harb, the house of war. All the non-Muslims of the world have been either destroyed or converted to Islam. That is peace. Their peace is your death.
That's Andrew Bieszad. That's why we have him on the program, folks, because you get the unadulterated truth of the matter here on the Veritas Radio Network and Crusade Channel. Okay, you heard the man. If you want a copy of Lions of the Faith, we'll have it in the Founders Trading Post by the end of the week, signed by Mr. Bieszad. Andrew, I look forward to a very long and continued prosperous and enlightening relationship with you here on the Veritas Radio Network, and we'll have you back as often as you'd like to come on. We'll have you back, and Godspeed to you, my brother.
God bless you too, and as much as you'll have me on, I'll be right here for you.
Okay. All right. We'll see. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you very much, folks. That's Andrew Bieszad here on the Crusade Channel. Wow. Well, you're not going to get You're not going to get that point of view any more solid and unwavering than you just got it from Bieszad. Well, we covered so much ground here today, folks, on the program. The only thing I didn't get to, and I think I want to wrap up. I want to close. I want to close with this. Because it's a different point of view of why the military option, as Mr. Bieszad just described, is not going to work. So let me finish up with Andrew Bieszad at the Boston Globe this morning, under the style of a war the West cannot win. The fact that the United States and its European allies face the fact is that the United States and its European allies face a perplexing strategic conundrum. Collectively, they find themselves locked in a protracted conflict with Islamic radicalism, with ISIS, but one manifestation of a much larger phenomenon, what we just talked about. Prospects for negotiating an end to that conflict anytime soon appear to be nil. Alas, so do prospects of winning it. In this conflict, the West generally appears to enjoy the advantage of clear-cut military superiority. By almost any measure, we are stronger than our adversaries. Our arsenals are bigger, our weapons more sophisticated, our generals better educated in the art of war, our fighters better trained at waging it. Yet, most of this is proven to be irrelevant. Time and again, the actual employment of the ostensibly superior military might has produced results other than those intended or anticipated, even where armed intervention has achieved a semblance of tactical success. The ousting of some unsavory dictator, for example, it has yielded neither reconciliation nor willing submission, nor even sullen compliance. Instead, intervention typically serves to aggravate, inciting further resistance rather than putting out the fires of radicalism. We end up feeding them. It's past time for the West, and above all for the United States as the West's primary military power, to consider trying something different. Rather than assuming an offensive posture, the West should revert to a defensive one. Folks, this is what I was talking about earlier with this nonsense of pluralism. We can live in a plural society. We believe in immigration. Well, maybe we should stop believing in immigration for, a couple hundred years. It's not ever going to run out of citizens. Well, you're a real isolationist now. Go and try to gain citizenship in Scotland. Go ahead, go try it. Go and try to gain citizenship in Switzerland. Go ahead. Try it. Go and try and gain citizenship in Malta. Go try it in Germany. We're the only doomcoffs stupid enough to believe in this civil religion that somehow we're not good people if we don't import the rest of the known universe. Instead of attempting to impose its will on the greater Middle East, America should erect barriers to protect itself from the violence emanating from that quarter. Such barriers will necessarily be imperfect, but they will produce greater security at more affordable costs than is gained by engaging in futile, open-ended, armed conflicts. Now, to that, one final note here. Let's go back to my earlier discussion when we began the program about 3 hours ago. I brought in the audio from the Clinton News Network this morning of Senator Graham and Senator McCain talking about waging a ground war with ground troops, boots on the ground, a brand new invasion here. Listen to the question about, well, the American people don't seem to be on a posture for another land war, to which McCain and Graham respond, bah, nonsense. Everybody wants to go to war. We're all ready to go to war.
I don't buy that the American people are reluctant to destroy ISIL. The American people are willing to send American forces to Syria and Iraq to protect the American homeland. When people say that, they don't know what they're talking about. The American people are ready to take on radical Islam because they see it for what it is, a threat to our homeland and our way of life.
Chris, could I just add...
But Senator Graham, it comes as no surprise. Absolutely. But Senator McCain, let me just give you some context for it. I'm not making this up. As you well know, there are many polls that show the American people don't want American women and men put at risk abroad. Do you believe that's changing, or do you believe it's time to just make that decision as a point of leadership?
I think it's rapidly changing.
Rapidly
changing. It has to have had a significant effect. And also, the fact is that this president has not led. It takes presidents to tell the American people about the threat. And as tragic as this is, it is certainly predictable when you look at the decisions that were made by this president.
Oh, it's all
beginning
Obama's
in
fault now.
2009, his failure to address Syrian violation of the use of chemical weapons, refusal to arm the Free Syrian
What about
Army,
America's
and
violation of the
measure
UN
after measure
Charter?
where the president has not led. But
good.
the American people have been awakened, and these people, by the way,
right.
could have easily bought a plane ticket to the United States from Paris.
Oh, that's right. They're coming to kill all. Well, they may be. Who knows? Who knows? The American people have been awakened now. They're ready for a land war. Huh? Screw everybody. Screw them all. That's all the time we have for today. Folks, please support our efforts. Please tell your friends to listen to the stream live. It doesn't cost nothing. This show will be available for download in just a few moments at MikeChurch.com. Stay tuned for great programming all day long here. And this show rebroadcasts at 3 p.m. Central Time. That is 4 p.m. East. I'll see you here bright and early tomorrow morning. This has been the Mike Church Show on the Veritas Radio Network Crusade channel, live from the Bulldog Kia Studio. See you tomorrow.